Hello and welcome. Here's what's happening right now. Canada's population on the decline.
They're not prepared for these abrupt changes.
The reasons behind the drop and the potential economic impact.
Because even for them, it was becoming very difficult to defend as a party.
Plus, the Quebec scandal forcing a powerful politician to step down.
It can be more serious than we realize, and sometimes there just is no time to act.
And a mother with an urgent warning about the flu.
CTV National News with Sandy Ronaldo.
Sandy is off today. I'm Todd Vanderheyden. Canada's population declined for the first time in history this year if you exclude the recent COVID-19 pandemic. The overall number fell by roughly 76,000 people over the third quarter because of changes to immigration. It's a big adjustment and one that will have a direct impact on our country's economic future. CTV's Heather Wright has more for us now on the numbers and what they mean, Heather, for Canada big picture.
Well, Todd, this decrease is mainly due to a drop in the number of non-permanent residents and marks a significant shift in immigration policy, one that is expected to continue for years to come.
The federal government promised to, quote, get immigration under control, and preliminary numbers from Statistics Canada suggest efforts to curb the number of immigrants are working. Between July 1st and October 1st of this year, Canada's population decreased by about 76,000 people, mainly due to a reduction in the number of non-permanent residents. Stats Canada attributes the decrease to record high outflows, with about 74,000 people with a study permit leaving the country.
We needed to bring our immigration level to a more sustainable level, and at the same time, we've doubled down in budget 2025 to attract the best and brightest in our country.
This decrease follows record rates of population growth between 2022 and 2023, an immigration policy aimed at part in helping companies fill thousands of empty jobs following the COVID-19 pandemic. But the increase also exacerbated existing challenges with housing and healthcare.
One of the things that it doesn't seem to be any huge consensus on is what our perfect immigration levels should be. Exactly.
Michael Hahn is a professor and demographer at Western University and says a shrinking population can have positive impacts, such as driving down housing prices. But he warns there can be negative impacts too, especially when the changes happen so quickly.
You know, wide open, wide shut. Those are the ones that hurt the most. Those are the ones that, universities, colleges, builders, they're not prepared for these abrupt changes because population change, I think optimal population change happens slowly rather than quickly.
And more changes to immigration levels are coming, with the federal Liberals vowing to further reduce the number of temporary residents over the next 2 years. Todd.
CTV's Heather Wright in Toronto. Thanks, Heather. An aggressive flu strain is spreading like wildfire in Canada. It's hitting children particularly hard. It's already been linked to the deaths of 3 children in Ontario, and healthcare workers are bracing for a new wave of infections over the holidays. CTV's Annie Bergeron-Oliver now on the dangers and the strain to the healthcare system over this, Annie.
Todd, if it seems like a lot of people you know have the flu right now, you're right. Cases are climbing. An outbreak even forced the Humboldt Broncos hockey team to cancel their game tonight.
The flu hits every year, but the strain of influenza A circulating now is hitting harder and faster than ever.
Well, it causes a severe pneumonia that can cause the lungs to break down. There can be a secondary bacterial infection. There can be widespread infection known as sepsis.
Doctors say severe complications are rare, but nationally, flu-related hospitalizations are increasing, especially in kids 4 or younger and among those over 65. In Ontario alone, new ICU admissions are up 127%, with confirmed flu cases up by 150%. In Nova Scotia, like elsewhere, doctors are preparing for a surge in cases, especially among kids around the holidays.
We tend to underappreciate the need for vaccination, and I certainly know in Nova Scotia, our uptake of vaccine in infants and young children is far from where ideally we'd like to have it.
Whatever protection you can get, it does make a difference.
Jill Promoli knows firsthand how devastating the flu can be. Her son Jude was a healthy 2-year-old when he got influenza B and died.
Even when we lost Jude, it was a shock to us that we had lost him to something like the flu.
She's now spent nearly 10 years encouraging people to take the flu seriously and encouraging them to get vaccinated.
It can be faster than we realize, and it can be more serious than we realize, and sometimes there just is no time to act. So the more steps that you can take to prevent getting the flu into your home in the first place, the better.
Doctors say the influenza outbreaks are starting earlier than usual, and they're encouraging everyone, Todd, to get vaccinated.
CTV's Annie Berger-Oliver. Thanks, Annie. Well, Canadians by and large are still confident in the flu vaccine. That's according to a new survey. But vaccine hesitancy has grown since the pandemic. And so is concern that this year's vaccine doesn't match the strength of the current flu strain. CTV's Adrian Gobriel now on what health professionals have to say.
Cases of the flu are rising across the country along with vaccine skepticism.
Since COVID, there's been a lot more vaccine hesitancy.
A new Leger healthcare poll has found that 74% of Canadians have faith in vaccines, while the majority say their confidence has remained unchanged. 26% say they've lost confidence. The report notes that healthcare providers have identified misinformation as one of the key drivers of vaccine hesitancy.
We have work to do. The politicization of vaccines has caused an enormous amount of damage. You're seeing the worst examples of that now in the United States.
In September, a newly appointed federal advisory panel stateside installed by U.S. Secretary of Health Robert F. Kennedy Jr. passed a vote recommending that children under 4 no longer receive an all-in-one vaccine for measles, mumps, rubella, and chickenpox. North of the border, some doctors believe we're seeing the erosion of hard-fought public health gains.
A lot of CDC has been dismantled, and you have people who are in charge of vaccination programs that are anti-vaxxers.
The efficacy of this year's flu shot is still being determined.
The circulating strain right now is mostly influenza A, H3N2, and it's a little bit mismatched from what's in the vaccine.
Though doctors we spoke with say the vaccine still provides vital coverage.
Will the seatbelt guarantee to save your life? No. Will it reduce the chance that you get a really bad traumatic injury or die? Yes. Vaccines are the same way.
Healthcare professionals are urging Canadians to get out and get their flu shot, with many predicting the worst of this influenza season is still on the horizon. Adrian Gobriel, CTV News, Toronto.
Just a stunning turn of events in Quebec for one of the province's most powerful political parties. The Quebec Liberals engulfed in a criminal corruption investigation. Now their new leader, Pablo Rodriguez, stepping down amid the controversy. It comes less than a year from the next provincial election in which Rodriguez was hoping to return his party to power. Let's go to Montreal. CTV's Matt Grillo standing by with the latest, Matt, on Rodriguez and, of course, the Liberal Party itself.
Yeah, Todd, we just found out this afternoon that Pablo Rodriguez announced his resignation to his caucus during a virtual meeting. So he announced that he's stepping down to the Liberal Party caucus, his elected MNAs. This all really started about a month ago, this Liberal Party crisis. It started when Pablo Rodriguez dismissed his then parliamentary leader, Marwa Rizki. She's a big name here in Quebec. She's a household name, and a lot of people know Marwa Rizki as, as an MNA who has been very strong for the party over a course of several mandates. So that was a big deal then. But then it took another turn. Allegations of cash for votes, during Pablo Rodriguez's leadership campaign. He was then forced to defend himself. Things took another turn last week when UPAC, Quebec's anti-corruption squad, said it would investigate the party. And then just this week, more allegations of reimbursements for people who donated to Rodriguez's leadership campaign. Now, through it all, Rodriguez has insisted he has done nothing wrong. But all these allegations, of course, led to calls for him to step down, and he made that decision today. Lots of big questions now facing the party. Who is going to take over the party, perhaps on an interim basis? And then what does the party do for a permanent leader? What would a leadership race look like for the Quebec Liberal Party? Keep in mind, an election is less than a year away. It's in October 2026, so a leader would have to be named, perhaps very quickly, and then they would have a short amount of time to convince Quebecers. So a lot of big questions facing the Quebec Liberal Party. We are expecting to hear from Pablo Rodriguez tomorrow morning at 10:30 in the morning at a press conference. Todd?
CTV's Matt Grillo in Montreal. Thanks, Matt. Let's get to our chief political correspondent, Vassy Kapelos, who's standing by in Ottawa with more on the political implications. Vassy, as you know, Pablo Rodriguez, longtime federal Liberal MP, cabinet minister under Justin Trudeau, but now this, the implications. What do you think?
Well, the implications are twofold from where I sit, Todd. And the first is whether or not whomever assumes the role from Pablo Rodriguez can actually, as our colleague just put it, convince people in Quebec that it's enough of a departure from the scandal that all of the scandals that he just listed off, that voters can take a second look at the Liberals. Because here's the bigger story nationally. If you look at public opinion polls over the last year or 6 months since Pablo Rodriguez assumed that role, they became kind of competitive with the PQ until all of those controversies started, and then their precipitous drop in the polls was to the advantage of the PQ. What is the PQ about? What are they talking about? A potential referendum on separatism. That is a huge issue for the federal government and when it comes to national unity more broadly, and could be the big story to watch next year, Todd.
Our chief political correspondent, Vassy Kapelos, in the capital. Thanks for this, Vassy. Alberta's Premier Danielle Smith calls Skate Canada's recent declaration of her province as a no-go zone disgraceful. Skate Canada says the province's new controversial law, which prohibits transgender athletes from female-only sport, doesn't meet its own standards. And this confrontation is raising questions now beyond just skating. CTV's Rachel Aiello is tracking this story for us from Ottawa. Rachel, what have you found out here? What do we know?
Todd, in light of Skate Canada's decision, we reached out to several other winter sporting organizations to see if they're considering following suit.
They get two here in 10 to win.
Curling Canada says it has no plans to move its upcoming events out of Alberta in light of the province's restrictions on transgender athletes. The World Women's Curling Championship is being held in Calgary in March. And in a statement to CTV News, the national governing body for the sport says the consequences of pulling out would have a significant financial impact on Curling Alberta, and that the organization continues to support the rights of all athletes to participate in the sport in the manner in which they choose.
Loose in front,
Hockey Canada also tells us it has no plans to adjust its event schedule at this time.
Canada.
After Skate Canada announced its boycott, citing Alberta's ban on trans athletes participating in female amateur sports, Premier Danielle Smith demanded an apology, while LGBTQ2S+ advocates celebrated the decision.
If reason and the will of the voters is not being, utilized by our government, then it's going to have to be our dollars at our events that are communicating to them what is right.
Canada's Secretary of State for Sport says while these organizations make decisions independently based on evidence and athletes' rights, the federal government believes in a sport system that provides opportunities for all Canadians to participate and excel without discrimination. We've also asked the national skiing, bobsledding, ringette, speed skating, and snowboarding bodies for comment, but have yet to hear back. Todd?
Rachel Aiello in Ottawa. Thanks, Rachel. Snowy conditions in Alberta are leading to a dangerous situation out on the roads and causing flight disruptions. Here's what we know. The RCMP advising people to take extra care or stay off the roads completely. Drivers are reporting blowing snow is causing limited visibility. One highway was closed after more than 80 vehicles were involved in a crash. The weather also causing delays today at Calgary's airport. And to British Columbia, where police in Abbotsford, east of Vancouver, releasing some dramatic new video as they tracked a dangerous driver allegedly fleeing from authorities in a stolen car. Check this out.
Ooh. Okay, he's arrestable for dangerous off for sure. Yeah, he's in full flight mode. Nice. And successful pit into the north ditch.
This footage shows a coordinated effort to chase down the vehicle, including using a spike belt. A 40-year-old man was arrested and charged with dangerous operation of a vehicle and trying to escape from police. Newly released surveillance video captured Nick Reiner out in public moments before his arrest in connection with the deadly stabbing of his parents in California. Reiner is seen inside of a gas station convenience store. Other footage shows him walking out on the street before several police cars converge. Reiner raises his hands and then surrenders. Today he appeared in court seated behind glass. No plea was entered and he remains in custody.
We ask that
during this process, you allow the system to move forward in the way that it was designed to move forward. Not with a rush to judgment, not with jumping to conclusions, but with restraint and with dignity.
The 32-year-old son of legendary filmmaker Rob Reiner and his wife Michelle has been charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder. Donald Trump is getting set to address the nation tonight, the White House describing the speech as a, quote, look back at the year that was. But with the president known for veering off script and no shortage of issues in the headlines, what Trump may end up saying is really anyone's guess. Our Washington Bureau Chief Joy Malbon is standing by with more, Joy, and what you're hearing about tonight's speech.
Oh, hey, Todd. Well, the White House says the president will tout his accomplishments in his first year back in office. And they're framing this speech as a recap of what they call historic achievements, a victory lap, from his crackdown on illegal immigration, mass deportations, to tariffs and tax cuts to come. Now, Trump himself promoted his speech, teasing new policies for next year, saying, quote, the best is yet to come. Here's the White House press secretary.
He's going to talk a lot about the accomplishments over the past 11 months, all that he's done to bring our country back to greatness, and all he continues to plan to do to continue delivering for the American people over the next 3 years.
And Joy, what are we seeing in the polls right now? How is Trump doing these days?
Not so good, Todd. Poll after poll shows voters are not feeling the love the president promised to address rising costs in groceries, rent, and health care. And he's dismissed the affordability crisis as a Democratic hoax. Now, tariffs aren't bringing back his promised blue-collar jobs, and the president's ratcheting up war talk with an oil blockade on Venezuela. The economy used to be Trump's strength, but people are suffering and cracks are beginning to show. Take a listen to one of Trump's former loyal supporters.
I think the dam is breaking. Many Republicans may not have called him out, but last week 13 Republicans voted with Democrats, which is a large signal that lame duck season has begun and that Republicans will go in all in for themselves in order to save their own reelections.
As Republicans head into a midterm election year, we'll see how the president refocuses his messaging on the economy, whether he sticks to the script or goes off teleprompter. Todd?
Our Washington Bureau Chief, Joy Malbon. Thanks, Joy.
Watch out, Major, on your tail.
Captain Rogers, I ordered you to stay out of this.
Carl, you need all the help you can get.
The star of a science fiction cult classic has died. Gil Gerard, the lead actor in the film and television show Buck Rogers in the 25th Century. The series had a short but influential run from 1979 to 1981. Gerard's manager says he died at the age of 82 from an aggressive form of cancer. His wife posted a message that he left for his fans in which he said, quote, "Don't waste your time on anything that doesn't thrill you or bring you love. See you out there somewhere in the cosmos." 8 days until Christmas. As Canadians are preparing for holiday gatherings, many are planning big dinners. So we wanted to find out how prices compare between this year and last year. Let's go to Prince Edward Island, where CTV's Maria Saru went out shopping to find out. Maria, how did it all go?
Todd, it really adds up fast. I compared this week's receipt with flyers from this time last year, and for a basic holiday meal, families are certainly paying more, with one item doing the most damage.
Grocery stores are getting busy with the holiday season soon in full swing, and some shoppers say they're watching where their dollars go.
I try and buy everything on sale. Very expensive this year. The prices have really went up.
CTV News compared the cost of a cart full of holiday staples this year versus last, using old online flyers and in-store prices. Experts say the price of turkey has stayed relatively stable, but this 6.2 kilogram grade A butterball is over $4 more expensive. This bagged salad is up about $2, and each can of cream of chicken soup costs a little under $1 more. Now, some relief. Frozen baby blend was on sale, 2 for $5, and several items were the same price as last year. A 15-pound bag of russet potatoes, 2 packets of gravy, and a box of shortbread cookies. Now, let's say your family likes a traditional beef roast. Here's a more affordable cut, about 2 kilograms of sirloin tip. Last year, it would have cost nearly $26. This year, closer to $66. That brings our total to nearly $129 compared to $90 in 2024.
The beef prices we're experiencing now are kind of a hangover from dry weather in 21, 22, and 23.
Food economist Mike von Massow says drought across parts of North America drove the price of feed up. And with cattle prices not keeping pace, some farmers shrank their herds. It'll take time to rebuild supply. He adds families are making compromises.
People are buying fewer gifts or cheaper gifts, and then some people are saying we're going to have smaller holiday gatherings.
Back here at the grocery store, shopping the sales and swapping out the protein could help keep costs down. Todd.
Maria Saru, thanks, Maria. After the break, a homecoming just in time for the holidays, the special stop after an important journey. The crew of a Canadian frigate is back home just in time for the holidays after a 6-month deployment as part of a mission for the NATO military alliance. Today, HMCS St. John's docked in the city it's named after. CTV's Garrett Berry was aboard the warship and its homecoming visit. Garrett.
Todd, these namesake city visits are a tradition in the Navy, and after 6 months abroad and a pretty windy journey back home, there was lots of excitement when HMCS St. John's crossed the Narrows and came into St. John's Harbor this morning.
I basically told the boys, I said, welcome to Newfoundland, because this is how it is in the winter.
After months overseas working alongside NATO allies, the crew of HMCS St. John's are back on Canadian soil tonight. And for some Newfoundlanders on board, a special stop here in St. John's is quite a way to mark the occasion.
Well, I'll tell you, last night on watch, so I'm an MCR watchkeeper, and we had a little kitchen party going on. Obviously, we couldn't drink at sea, but we had I was playing the spoons, we had an ugly stick, somebody brought a guitar, so we have fun.
Today, the crew donated an additional $15,000 to Make-A-Wish Canada, continuing a tradition that started almost 30 years ago. This contribution takes the collective total to more than $2 million. This deployment overseas was to support NATO's defense efforts in the Mediterranean and North Atlantic. This ship has participated in these very same groups before, but this time it was against a backdrop of active war in Ukraine.
In some ways it does feel like it could be routine, but I agree that it felt a bit different this time. I think certainly for people as we were getting ready to go, looking at what's going on in the international sphere.
Final stop for this crew is Halifax, and the ship gets underway for the very last part of the journey tomorrow. Todd.
I love it. Garrett Berry in St. John's. Thanks, Garrett. And that's our newscast on this Wednesday. Thanks for watching. I'm Todd Vanderheyden. I'll see you again right here tomorrow. Your local CTV News is coming up next.